Well, House Democrats will be holding a conference call at the top of the hour or so with, quote, chairs of relevant committees in Congress discussing their next steps regarding the Mueller report. So what will they do? Let's bring in our panel. Jimmu Green, former advisor to Hillary Clinton and a Fox News contributor. And Dan Palmer, former advisor to Republican primary presidential candidate Ted Cruz. Dan, let me start with you. I mean, the Democrats and Trump critics certainly disappointed that there are no new indictments. So what is the next move?
You know, they're in a tough spot. The reaction of the leading voices calling for the investigation and pushing the narrative in the mainstream media and pushing it with the leaks, really, their lack of joy belies their deeper, debased motivations. This was never really about finding a foreign threat. This was always about damaging the president. So I think that project just moves on. Really, they're really just trying to nullify the practical effects of an election they didn't win.
You don't think that there were
I think
any?
That's become obvious.
You don't think that there are any legitimate concerns that the Russians were interfering with our election process, with the media and with the social media in this country? That it was only a political investigation?
Clearly, the Russians are bad actors, and they've been advancing isometric and information warfare in Western democracies and making mischief for a long time. The original mandate to the Mueller investigation is to determine whether or not there were American citizens complicit in that effort, which is, can you imagine today if the Mueller report indicated that there was, in fact, American cooperation at the highest levels of the Trump campaign or the president himself, where we would be? That would be devastating news to the country. And the fact that that is not the news today, we should all be overjoyed.
So, Jimmu,
but of course, the Democrats have never been concerned about that in reality.
Jimmu, first of all, do you agree with that? And number two, what do the Democrats talk about in their conference call in 12 minutes from now?
Well, it's certainly an interesting piece of spin and in line with what this president and his spokespeople have been saying. But, you know, there's a lot that we don't know, and I don't want to get into the game of speculation, but there is a lot that we do know. And what we know is that our country was attacked by a hostile, murderous dictator. And this happened days after Trump announced his candidacy. Their intent was to benefit him. And even if we don't have, you know, kind of a social media speed of this report and we've seen like information dripping out, again, there is a lot that we do know. President Trump, he knew about this attack. He didn't report it. Once it came out, he encouraged it. He benefited from it. He denied it. He's worked to cover it up. He's attacked it 1,100 times, and the list goes on. But pushing all of that aside, 5 people are going to prison. 1 person was convicted at trial. 37 people and entities were indicted. 199 criminal counts. The idea that anyone would, fall into this witch hunt type of messaging that the president has been trying to promote, it is really un-American. And as we look ahead to how we protect our democracy, it is really important that these people start putting country over party.
And Jimmu, though, some would say, obviously, in response, that the president has not been indicted, and there was no indictments. These are process crimes and lying, as opposed to collusion or conspiracy and coordination with Moscow. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to what's going on with the Mueller report and how it will impact the Democrats' race for the White House for 2020. Our panel's not going anywhere. We'll be right back.